So yep, that just happened. Russia announced that it wants to create some kind of Olympic Games for the targeted audience of 21 billion people. I mean, you already know how ridiculous Russian propaganda can get, but this is just the next level. So what I'm talking about here is this statement by the Deputy Prime Minister for Sport and Tourism of Russia, Dmitry Chernyshenko, who said that these Games of the future in 2024 will have the audience 7 times bigger than the audience of the Olympic Games. Why Russian propaganda is so extravagant? What types of games will there be? And will there, and I cannot just say it without laughing, will there actually be 21 billion people watching? And these are the questions that we'll be talking about in today's video. What's up, investors? Susan Wilson and people of Reddit, it's the Russian Dude, and this is your daily update on Russian-Ukrainian war as of Wednesday, June 22nd. You can see the main events of the day to my right, along with the timestamps. Welcome to another episode of Ridiculous Russian Propaganda, and today I just decided to start with this ridiculous news. So once again we have this guy Dmitry Chernyshenko, who is saying that in 2024 in Kazan there will be these future games. These future games will be kind of the combination of the actual sports and cyber games. So it's like people will be playing actual soccer and at the same time they'll be competing in like FIFA or Pro Evolution Soccer, which is like on Xbox or Sony. What's even more interesting, there will be even tournaments for Counter-Strike, and the equivalent of Counter-Strike will be like the Strike Ball. They even mentioned there will be like Dota tournaments, and they are still thinking how to bring Dota games into life. And for those of you who know what is this Dota game, you already know how absurd it might look in real life. So okay, anyways, whenever this guy, who is by the way the Deputy Prime Minister of Sport and Tourism in Russia, he said that these games will have the audience 7 times more than the audience of the Olympic Games. And it is estimated that the audience for the previous Olympic Games was to be approximately 3 billion people. So it's like he was standing there with like poker face, straight face, and absolutely calmly saying that yes, the audience will be like 7 times bigger than Olympic Games, which is like 21 billion people. And I mean, okay, I'll give him some credit. He did not say personally 21 billion people, but he did say that it'll be 7 times more. And just for the reference, the population of the entire Earth at this very moment is only close to 8 billion. And so, because of this fact, our guy Dmitry Chernyshenko, he said that, okay guys, we only have 1.5 years left, so we must hurry. And I'm not exactly sure what he means by hurry up. Is it just multiply and have more kids, or maybe build these stadiums and create these games? But yes, at least I hope that the level of organization of these games will be much higher than the level of math that these people have. And besides that, they claim that these games will be international. But for some reason, I don't think that too many Western countries will be invited. But okay, now let's get serious, and I'll quickly show you the update about the map of the war. As always, the main battle at this very moment happens for the city of Severodonetsk. And it is reported that at this very moment Russia controls approximately 85% of the city. The only territories which are still not under the control of Russians is the industrial zone as well as the Azot factory. In addition to that, Russians were able to advance from the south and they captured the nearby towns and villages next to the city of Lysychansk. And the towns I'm talking about here are the towns of Podlesnaya and Mirnaya Dolina. Another target of Russian army at this very moment is the road between Bakhmut and Severodonetsk, because this is the road that Ukrainian army is using for reinforcements. And Russian army is actively attacking this road somewhere from the southeast. Because in case Russia will be able to disrupt this direction, there is a big chance that the city of Severodonetsk will fall. And according to the British intelligence, at this very moment Russia is calling many soldiers from its reserves to the east of this territory. And it is assumed that these soldiers will be attacking this region from the east to make a final push. As you can see, this might be just another confirmation that at this very moment Russia is most likely planning its final attack. Another event happened early this morning in the southeast of this region. It has been reported that most likely Ukrainian drones attacked the oil refinery on the territory of Russia. The oil refinery was caught on fire and it took several hours to take out this fire. In case this is indeed the Ukrainian attack, this is not the first time Ukrainians were attacking the objects on the territory of Russia. But unlike Russian forces, Ukrainians are only targeting military and military-related objects. And now really quick about the most successful territory for Ukraine, the south of the country. As you might already know, at this very moment Russia occupies the city of Kherson. And it has been reported that Ukrainians were able to breach through through the first lines of defense. Which means that right now Russians are creating and reinforcing second and third lines of defense. The majority of Ukrainian reinforcements come from the city of Mykolaiv, and because of this, today Russia launched several missile strikes against this city. Fortunately for Ukrainians, these missile strikes did not interfere with the counterattack. But in very unlikely case scenario, in case Russians will be able to push Ukrainians all the way to the territories of the city of Mykolaiv, the head of Mykolaiv, Vitaly Kim, announced that Ukrainians will just bomb their own bridges. And the reason for this is to completely stop the advancement of Russian forces. Because in case there are no more bridges, the only way inside the city will be around two rivers, which surround the city of Mykolaiv. And as you can already imagine, this will create a huge logistical disadvantage for Russians. Just a quick side note here, this Saturday, June 25th, I'll be hosting a charitable livestream where you can ask me anything. The livestream will be around 8 PM Eastern Standard Time, but I'll tell you more exact time a little bit later. So keep an eye on the announcements and mark your calendars. And now let's continue. According to the Telegraph magazine, in the beginning of this month, 2 American soldiers who are fighting for Ukraine were captured by Russian soldiers. And the names of these 2 Americans is the 39-year-old Alexander Druk and 27-year-old Andy Hyun. They were captured by Russians somewhere in the Kharkiv region, and these are the first 2 Americans that are official prisoners of war of Russia. And unfortunately, you already know how Russia treats Western mercenaries. For those of you who do not know this yet, there are actually 3 captured prisoners of war by Russia in Donetsk Republic. And among these 3 guys, 2 of them are from the United Kingdom and 1 is from Morocco. And at this very moment, these people are awaiting their death penalties. And so the future of these 2 captured Americans at this very moment is still pretty uncertain. But according to the press secretary of Russia, Dmitry Peskov, he does not deny the fact that these 2 people can also be sentenced to die. With the only one big and, to be honest, massive problem here is that these are the citizens of the United States of America, which is basically the arch enemy of Russia. And according to the representative of Pentagon, John Kirby, the White House is completely shocked by this announcement. And I mean, personally, I think that America will do everything possible to rescue these people, and in fact, Russia will not be crazy enough to execute them as well. Simply because Russia at this very moment cannot afford involving another country in this war, specifically someone as strong as America. So, if some of you might remember, just a couple of days ago, the country of Lithuania said that it will not allow Russian trains on its territory. And the bad thing about this is that Russia has this small territory literally in the middle of Europe, which is called the region of Kaliningrad. And in case these rains stop coming, Kaliningrad will lose approximately 50% of its imports. Russian politicians obviously reacted immediately and saying that this is the threat to Russia. And because of this, Russia is now free to use any means of defending itself. Which they kinda implied is that in case these train deliveries will not be resumed, Russia will try to liberate Lithuania. And today, the representatives of NATO countries, specifically the United States of America, said that in case Russia attacks Lithuania, Lithuania will have full support of NATO. One thing is when Russia attacked Ukraine, which is not the part of NATO. And as you can see, NATO countries are still showing the support to this small country. Which means that in case Russia actually attacks one of NATO members, the rest of NATO countries will have to engage in this war. The representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Russia, Maria Zakharova, said that peace talks between Russia and Ukraine were stopped because of Ukraine. Her almost exact quote was that these negotiations were frozen by Ukrainian side without giving Russia any particular reasons. And I mean, if you've been watching my videos for the last month or so, you already know that this is a complete nonsense. In the very beginning of these peace talks, Russia, let's say so, had the upper hand and was able to dictate its own requirements. But for Ukraine, it was almost impossible to meet these requirements, such as, for example, giving up the entire Donbass region. But at the same time, Ukraine was always interested in continuing these peace talks. After March, the number of these peace talks significantly reduced until they stopped completely. But at the same time, Ukraine was always showing the willingness to resume these peace talks. Specifically, President Zelensky himself was always saying that he is ready to meet with Putin face to face. And it was always the Russian side who are saying that these presidents, they do not have anything to talk about yet. Russia's side was always talking about this some kind of document that needs to be prepared in advance before the peace talks can be resumed. And now when we eventually see that Ukraine is gaining the advantage in this war, it is Russia that is looking to resume the peace talks. But Ukraine understands its superiority, and now it is Ukraine who is dictating its own requirements. For example, once again, President Zelensky himself is saying that Ukraine will demand the return of all these occupied territories, which also includes the territory of Crimea, which was seized by Russia back in 2014. Russia obviously does not want to accept these negotiations, but at the same time it understands that the time is on Ukraine's side. And the longer this war goes on, the less chances Russia has at winning in it. And because of this, the future of peace talks at this very moment is pretty uncertain, but I'm pretty positive that in case they happen, it will be Ukraine who will be dictating its main requirements. The Russian Senate has approved the law about parallel import. What this basically means is that Russia will be able to import Western products without the official agreement from the Western manufacturers. So it's like, let's say, Russia wants to sell Coca-Cola in its territory, and in order to do this, they need to obtain the license from Coca-Cola. But according to this new law, they'll be able to somehow purchase this soda and just import it to Russia without any licenses. I have no idea how they're planning to do this, but the fact is the fact. This law has been adopted. And one more thing about this law is that practically any company can be subject to this parallel import. And by the way, if you like this style of daily news reporting, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, please make sure to check the link in the description if you wish to support Ukraine with us. Thanks so much, stay safe, and see you tomorrow.